Salam Media.
لا تقل لوحدي أو كيف السبيل.
Humanity sets the agenda.
تصنع المستحيل.
The time is just gone 8:35 a.m. as we continue with the show this morning, and we are now taking a look at the South African National Editors Forum, calling for the immediate end to surveillance of South African journalists because there have been reports of phones and laptops belonging to journalists being bugged by crime intelligence. We joined on the line by Sanef spokesperson Hopewell Radebe. Hopewell, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Good morning, Sam. Thank you for inviting us, and good morning to your listeners.
Obviously, this is a major concern at this point in time. You know, we have been a free press for a very, very long time. But when we're starting to hear about surveillance of South African journalists, and there have been a few examples, Hopewell, and just to take us through the background and to understand why this is so problematic at this point in time.
Yeah, I think listeners would know that there's a big battle happening in the SAPS. The top brass, those who are running the crime intelligence and those who are gunning for positions of commissioners at provincial level or national, it's just big. And not so long ago, because of the scandal of the PPEs that were investigated by the SIU, I think Special Investigation Units that were proclaimed by the president following the proclamation of the president. And the investigation ended up pointing out that there may have been corruption within the police also when they were doing by avoiding certain tenders, procedures to then buy the PPEs that will protect the police doing their job. And as journalists, normally we will also investigate as we investigate every allegations of corruption and also every suspicion that there is a fight for positions. And the next thing we are finding that the News 24 journalist, also Jeff Vick, started being followed and his phone was bugged. We ended up, the News 24 the lawyer ended up writing, asking the commissioner Gadinde, or who allows police when they have to investigate anybody to surveil, they have to get the permission from the judge. And then the judge said, no, that has not been authorized. So we know that therefore that bugging is illegal. And then it is Marianne Sam of Daily Maverick, whose last week property house was broken into, and the laptop where she has to write these stories and investigate all that was also stolen without anything else stolen in the house. Fortunately, we then found that there was a memorandum that was leaked that showed that it had been authorized that there should be such an investigation to see how this investigation goes. So we know that this is happening, and hence we are writing this week to the minister to say, please, it is illegal to do that even without the permission of the judge concerned, because there has to be such authorization being given. Therefore, it means we have a rogue unity within the crime intelligence, breaking the law and therefore investigating to defend maybe the positions or to fight for positions. But whatever it is, police are finding it easy to therefore find out who are their enemies by investigating the journalists.
Yes. Now, obviously, you know, when we're talking about journalists and particularly those investigative journalists and looking at South Africa where we are at this point in time, Hopewell, where there is just so much happening in the background and, PPE was just one example that you obviously had cited. But I'm sure there is a lot more at the end of the day. And when journalists don't feel safe to conduct, any investigations and when surveillance of this nature takes place, when laptops are bugged, when phones are bugged, when you are broken, when your house is broken into, obviously that speaks volumes as far as freedom for journalists in this country go.
Absolutely, we should not be so scared as journalists that we have to look over our shoulders now. And besides, these battles are leadership battles within the institution. So when these leaders of the crime intelligence and police are beginning to abuse the resources of the state and assigning their agents, instead of going to fight crime and investigate syndicates, they are looking at which journalist is finding what information about them. It is not right. It is absolutely not right. But besides, this is not the first time. I think you had spoken to me when there was a revelation that was on the commission about the South African Secret Services that was also surveilling journalists and also recruiting them, trying to get to work and serve the interest of their masters. That too is illegal and it is inappropriate. It is an abuse of resources. It is like the Infogate scandal in the United States, where state intelligence trying to abuse their resources for political reasons and mileage of other leaders. So we are finding that happening in South Africa, and it makes the job of journalists difficult. But also they threaten the journalists. They threaten the journalists that if you don't do this, you'll end up in jail, we will have you arrested, we will review your case in court. So we are finding that it's just not on. And therefore we are writing to the Minister of Police to please investigate this, but also we're going to be copying this to the President to say, under your watch, under your guardianship, this is what is happening. The battles for political mileage and political conflicts within your party, it's leading to journalists being the victims of circumstance here.
Yes, and obviously, over and above the surveillance, there's a whole question of abuse as well, because we've seen a lot of that come to the fore as well, where we've seen a number of journalists have been abused, by prominent people as well. And rightly so, as you mentioned, this matter needs to be taken up at the highest level, Hopewell.
Yeah, we are hoping also that the Zondo Commission would have at least a chapter, just a chapter looking into how these matters can be resolved, where you have, when one political leader is coming in or out, another one coming in, and therefore the state intelligence starts taking sides instead of investigating matters of national interest and international interest for South Africa. They find themselves chasing journalists to see who they are writing about and trying to stop or influence at least how certain narratives are stated to suit their master. The national intelligence is supposed to see to it that we don't have bombs exploding at our malls, that we don't have our freeways collapsing because they've been damaged or destroyed by certain unscrupulous individuals. Not seeing that journalists are worrying about the politics, because political journalists are supposed to do that. Look at the political scenario of the country and analyze who is winning when and how, but not that the state intelligence is supposed to be doing their job and they're now getting embroiled in how the reportage of their political masters is taking place. This is a diversion and this is an abuse of resources. It is not allowed internationally or locally. It should not be.
Well, definitely, and this seems to be problematic, considering that we've had rogue units within other units. I mean, the SARS rogue unit was a classic example, and now when we're talking about crime intelligence and we're talking of rogue units within crime intelligence, Hopewell.
Yeah, which becomes even a disappointing situation where you end up having certain team or certain teams of people who subscribe to do their job. I mean, I also feel pity for those agents who have been trained on how to do surveillance and do certain things, and now they have to be chasing journalists and scaring journalists in the country instead of them finding whether we have what you call extremists of any nature, be it the Buremach, as you once said, or whatever else is surfacing out there. Those threats remain in South Africa. We are not supposed to see people. You remember in the churches, Muslim churches recently, we had people stabbing people. That's the job of these intelligence agents. They're supposed to know and get under the skin of society and be able to get to see that there is no threat for you and I when we just go to our places of worship, irrespective of the religious affiliation we're at. And that's what they're supposed to be doing, not chasing journalists because they report about their boss's political future.
Well, hopefully, let's see what develops from here. But as always, thank you very much for your time with us here on Salam Media. All the best to you.
Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to explain our activities to your listeners. We really appreciate it.
South African National Editors Forum spokesperson Hopewell Radebe with us this morning. We come back, we're talking AfriForum applying to cross-examine Cyril Ramaphosa at the Zondo Commission.
Osman's Taj Mahal Spice and Rice